kind of switching gears on a little more sad note. It's kind of going from like a weird thing to another sad thing. But Jim Fassel, R.I.P.
Yeah.
The Giants coach, made his way around the league. Coached with Coach John Elway as an assistant. Played quarterback for the Bears, or was drafted by the Bears at the quarterback position. A guy that Michael Strahan has came out and said, I love. He was a great coach. He was a player's coach, which those are my favorite types of coaches. One of those coaches that are really entrenched with what's going on with their players, not just on the field but off the field as well. Nick, you got any favorite memories or favorite games that he might have coached in?
Yeah, I Jim Fassel, man. Jim Fassel's awesome. I think Jim Fassel's an interesting guy for people our age because when he coached in the Super Bowl, I think was the year 2000, and that would have put, for me at least, I was like 10 years old, so third, fourth grade,
Yep.
and that's when you start kind of really getting into football, like a little,
Yeah.
a little bit. You start to
Yeah, I would have
actually.
probably been that 2003, 2004 section.
Yep. So
So,
exactly. So it's like that's that kind of age range where you're like you
yep.
start to kind of figure out the teams a little, the players a little more. You start like just getting
Yeah.
these little inclinations of like the specifics of the league and stuff, and you become a fan of the NFL, right? You're not just a fan of a team when you're like in kindergarten or some shit. Like you start to kind of be like, okay, I see what's going on here as like a fifth grader. So right in that period of time, man, he was a staple in the NFL. But my favorite Jim Fassel game is the fact that I remembered this when I was reading back about him. So he was the Giants coach who lost in the Super Bowl when the Giants played the Ravens
Okay.
after Ray Lewis allegedly, um,
Yeah.
committed
Allegedly.
committed that homicide allegedly that Super Bowl. People are very familiar with that Super Bowl because of that, right? So
Yep.
that the Giants lost that Super Bowl. However, to get to that Super Bowl in the NFC Championship game, they beat the Vikings 41-0. And that is by far, I think that is incredible. Like Jim Fassel gets in the NFC
Yeah.
Championship game. You have to imagine too, like at that time, like everyone's feeling good. You're like, wow, the
Yeah.
Vikings got a good team. Look at like what they got going on here. This is going to be a pretty good game. I'm excited. You got Michael Strahan in the league. It's the NFC Championship game. The New York Football Giants, and they absolutely murdered them in the NFC Championship game. It was not a close game at all. 41-0, a shutout, like in the NFC Championship game. I just
Yeah.
think that's awesome. And yeah, Jim Fassel, what a guy. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely a
Go.
staple in the NFL. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, kind of, you'll see people on Twitter and stuff today talking about him because he was in the league forever, man. I mean, a guy that I think you definitely a very memorable coach in the time frame that he was in the league with the players that he had with the Giants, the success that they did have. So, pretty awesome. But yeah, him blasting the Vikings in the NFC Championship game, I think is just
Yeah.
awesome and just interesting because he coached in that Super Bowl, and that is like like that is a famous Super Bowl because of the whole Ray Lewis deal. Like, so it's kind of nuts. Like, people remember that one, and yeah, he was the opposing coach in that game.
Yeah. He's definitely going to be missed around the league because when I was reading up a little bit more on him, he definitely stopped and or throughout his career to becoming the New York Giants coach. He definitely made his way around the league in assistant positions. Like I said, he coached John Elway as an assistant, which is like that's a pretty awesome thing to be able to work with one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it.
Yep, yep.
And so, and he was a quarterback as well. That's what he went to college. Got into the league, stuff like that. So very cool. He definitely will be missed dearly by a lot of people in the NFL.